Again, welcome live here to the Transparency Karen Reed case. The hearing, this was to delay, okay, the motion to, and they filed like a joint motion, both the state and Karen Reed's defense team. They both said that, hey, they need more time. Let's check it out. Let's see what happens here. And then I am going to speak a little bit after this, the hearing ends on this. So let's jump right into it. I'll give the notifications a chance and then we'll go. All right, let's go ahead and do this. They can all stay together.
Concerned about getting information from the U.S. Attorney's Office. I do appreciate that you put right in your
motion that no timeline was explicitly given for the completion of the process and therefore the production of information, but the U.S. Attorney was cognizant of the trial date scheduled for the case at bar and desired to provide enough lead time for the parties to assimilate the new information, leading counsel to believe that the information would be forthcoming in early February. What do you want to say about that, Mr. Yannetti? What do we have? What's new?
So we actually have an update, Your Honor. At 8:28 p.m. last night, the parties received an email from the U.S. Attorney's Office stating the following regarding the procedure going forward. First, this is a quote. First, as soon as we hear back from the DA's office regarding the latest edits to the protective order, we will file our motion in federal court. We will then be in a position to make our disclosures immediately upon, number one, the federal judge's endorsement of the protective order, and number two, execution by the parties of the acknowledgement form on the protective order. Second, we expect that this could happen as soon as tomorrow. Now, this is an email that we're receiving last night.
Right, you said that.
They said, but he said in parentheses, again, assuming a quick turnaround.
She is such a grumpy bitch. Bev.
To the parties. In any event, and barring something unforeseen, we would characterize the disclosures as happening within a matter of days.
Okay, great. Mr. Lally, I know you're on trial, but have you been able to hold up your end of this yet, or when will you be able to?
I anticipate being able to respond in regard to there was some language as far as the protective order that the Commonwealth was concerned about, given its obligations for public records requests, as well as some issues in regard to when the finality of the proceedings may be defined. But I think those are easily resolvable issues. So I anticipate we should be able to hopefully do that this afternoon.
Okay. All right, let's have it done no later than tomorrow afternoon.
Sure.
Okay, good. So that solves that. Rule 17, Google, your Exhibit A. Where do we stand with those records? Has anyone inquired of Google as to where they are, Mr. Yannetti?
Yeah. So with regard to both Verizon and Google, the problem that we run into is, number one, we're not law enforcement, and number two, we're not members of the clerk's office. They will not respond to a criminal defense attorney to give an update.
Have you called legal counsel for the agencies?
Yes, we have.
Has a lawyer called a lawyer?
So, Your Honor, with regard to the grounds for the motion to continue that was jointly filed. It was the Verizon records. It was the exhaustive testing.
I understand, and we're going through them. So can you answer that question? Has a lawyer contacted legal counsel? Not a member of your team, but
right.
a lawyer.
So it's we've tried to do that.
Okay.
It is almost impossible to get legal counsel on the phone speaking to a defense attorney unless they're the ones reaching out to you. So again, this is something that the Commonwealth can accomplish. They are law enforcement. Your clerk's office can accomplish it. They're part of the court.
Jim, you talked to Verizon at one point, right? When there was a problem with records?
I did.
Okay. All right, so that's been done. Okay.
Hold on for a second.
They're waiting on something here. It's not like there's no sound. And this is a really true inaccurate.
I thought everyone was going to be here today. I didn't know we'd have people on Zoom.
Oh, they're getting people
I
on
had
Zoom.
emailed the court yesterday to say that if it was just going to be,
Yeah, I found out from
on a
Mr.
motion to
McDermott
continue, it would just
this
be me in
morning.
person.
All right, so Ms. Little's up here.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. So what can you tell me?
I-
Let's start with Google. What can you tell me about Google?
Yes, Your Honor. If you recall, at the very last court date, Your Honor was going to inquire of Mr. McDermott and review the declaration that Brian Albert had filed and get us a copy of the court order so that we could follow up with Google. That was a discussion that we had at sidebar. I don't have, as it stands, a copy of the reference number in order to follow up with Google. And I also don't know what was filed under seal by the third party. So there were some issues that the court was going to discuss with the clerk at sidebar and then get back to us about. So I don't know what the status of those records are because we need to follow up about that.
All right. So, Mr. McDermott, tomorrow, why don't we check in with Google and let counsel know any information so that they can follow up, okay?
Sure.
That's her
All
clerk.
right.
Thank
So-
you, Your Honor.
All right. So now we're moving on to Rule 17 regarding Michael
That's
Proctor
taken
and
care of.
Jennifer McCabe.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to finish talking about Verizon as well.
We weren't there yet. We weren't there yet. I asked you specifically
Oh,
about
okay.
Google. Now we're moving on to the Rule 17.
She is a peach.
records. I'm doing it in the order of your motion. So, Rule 17 regarding Michael Proctor and Jennifer McCabe. Where do we stand with that, Mr. Lally?
I believe I received a letter yesterday from Mr. Reddington's office in regard to Ms. McCabe's materials being filed with the court. So that was my understanding with regard to that. I hadn't checked the docket or downstairs yet.
Okay.
And I had spoken to Trooper Proctor in regard to his communications. If they haven't been received by the clerk's office yet, then I will ensure that they are
Forthwith.
forthwith, yes.
Okay. All right. And the Verizon records that were ordered. What do you know about that, Mr. Lally? Any information on that?
I don't.
Okay. Mr. McDermott, this is the one that Verizon sent the wrong records?
That's correct.
All right. And you followed up with them?
I did follow up with them, and they were going to fix the situation. I don't know if there's a cell phone record received from Verizon on January 25th, but that was probably the first one that was incorrect, correct?
It was.
All right.
And for the record, Ms. Little did call Verizon on January 25th. As soon as we received those records, that was the first time we did receive them.
Okay. So, Ms. Little, is that what you wanted to address?
Yes, Your Honor. As you know, at the last court date, we had discussed at sidebar what the status of those records were. We did get a copy of the court order. I was able to follow up with Verizon. It looks like they were sent to the court actually back in November of last year. The date of that letter was, I believe, late November. Once we received the records, it looked like they were from the incorrect user. I was able to call the law enforcement and court number to speak with them about that.
Okay.
They did acknowledge that there was a mistake on their end, but they asked that the court clerk follow up with them because I was not an authorized person to discuss those matters.
All
And
right.
I know that Jim very quickly reached out to follow up with them.
Yeah.
And I did, yeah, thank you.
All right. So we can double check that perhaps, Mr. McDermott?
I just did check. I haven't received anything yet, but I can follow up tomorrow.
All right. Great. All right. So that moves us to the DNA, Bodhi technology. Let's talk about that first. Mr. Lally, that was to be expedited.
Okay. Now, this is where Jennifer Koffendorfer goes on a rant on Twitter the past couple days talking about this. And I need everyone to listen up because she completely misquotes Mr. Yannetti, and I think that needs to be noted. So here we go. Again, this is about DNA, any and all DNA in the case that's outstanding that has not been turned over. Okay.
What's the information we have from them?
So that is really the only issue and the reason that it's a joint motion to continue from my perspective. I don't oppose the motion, but the reason that it's a joint request from my end. So where we stand, I spoke with someone from Bodhi yesterday.
Okay.
And really what I had said to Mr. Yannetti, but it didn't get encapsulated within the motion, is there are the two sort of different sets of testing that are going on. So there's the hair sample with the mitochondrial DNA testing, and then there's the taillight evidence with regard to the troopers' samples that they submitted as well. So with reference to both of those samples, I anticipate initially what I was told, even with the 8-week rush expedited return, was sometime around the 3rd week of March or something like that. And so that was in part why
It's a lot more than 8 weeks.
Well, it's 8 weeks from the date that they received it. So and there were some delays in regard to that as far as whether or not there was going to be any observation testing and collecting samples, submitting the samples. It's been a bit of an arduous process, but
what is he talking about? Okay. So they're looking at the taillight samples from the taillight that the troopers went back and obtained this taillight or whatever. And it's DNA from the taillight. It should have John O'Keefe's, DNA. If the car and the taillights would scratch them all up and, whatever from Karen Reed's car, you would think that, when are you submitting this stuff? He's saying instead of taking 8 weeks. So they're waiting for the trooper samples of the taillight. And then there's the hair. Okay, this is what they do not have back as far as any forensic, reporting now.
The further point of clarity that I received yesterday is that they expect, it's not a definitive due date, but their expectation is that testing should be completed the 1st week of March now, with regard to both sets.
Okay.
My issue, though, sort of ancillary to that is, and I'm not faulting counsel for this, but I have no reciprocal discovery in this case. And my expectation is that I may be receiving some, if not a voluminous amount. I can't file a certificate of compliance and a motion for reciprocal discovery under the rules.
Okay, so what he's saying there is that he has nothing from the defense, like whatever you plan on presenting, I have no reciprocal discovery. So we've given you guys all of our stuff, and you're supposed to in turn give us whatever you plan on using. And he's here saying, he's like, I have no reciprocal discovery. Now I have to check the motions and see if, if the prosecutor here has filed to have, to compel them to do it. What's the status in that? Like there had to be a deadline for this discovery.
Support is well aware until I've completed my discovery obligations, which I won't be able to do until we get to that 1st week of March when I get the DNA reports. So that is my reason for looking to push the trial date out a little bit in order to be able to satisfy my discovery obligations, file the motion for reciprocal discovery, and give counsel at least some reasonable amount of time to provide whatever it is they have, of which I just don't know.
All right. So while we're talking about DNA, Mr. Yannetti, do we need to be concerned about canine DNA? Where do we stand with that?
No, I think this is the only outstanding DNA issue.
Okay. So, all right. So we're not.
Okay, all he says is no. I think that this is the only outstanding DNA issue is like that it's we don't have it back yet. Okay. Jen Koffendorfer ran with the fact of, did you hear that in the back? Turn it up. There is no canine DNA, you know? And it's like, no, there's just no issues. There's no issues. There's no outstanding issues. So I have no idea how she could possibly hear that sentence from that man and then go on a rant on Twitter. I don't understand that at all. Not to mention she said, yeah, they swabbed not the wounds, but they swabbed his shirt. But he was simply asked, is there any outstanding issues? Like, do we not have stuff? So how do we know that he doesn't have anything? You know, no, there's no outstanding issues with that. I think that this is the only outstanding things that we don't have. But I just really wanted to point that out because he says it right there. He doesn't say, "Yep, no, we got it. There's no DNA. You know, there's no canine DNA." But it just, I don't even.
No, I think this is the only outstanding DNA issue.
Only outstanding DNA issue.
So
that means
all
whatever.
so
That means
we're not
everything else was
dealing
turned
with
over,
canine
No.
DNA.
or they don't have a problem with it.
All right. So Mr. McDermott will help us out here tomorrow. Mr. Lally will make any edits that he's suggesting to the protective order, and that will go out no later than tomorrow.
Yes.
So it sounds like, and first week of March, let's keep on them and see if we can get that DNA discovery before then. So what I'm going to do is let's keep that February 26th date. We still have the motion to dismiss and the motion for the DA's office to, let me get it right, motion for sanctions and disqualification, the DA's office.
Okay, can I be heard on that, Your Honor, please?
For heard on what? Scheduling?
On the February 26th date.
So on just let me finish.
Of course.
So February 26th will be on the motion to dismiss.
The motion to dismiss only.
Yes, I said we still have two outstanding. It'll be the motion to dismiss that date. And I'll hear where you're at on the motion for disqualification on that date.
I see. So I think the only issue with regard to February 26th is that's 1 week from Monday.
Right.
The Commonwealth has indicated that they anticipate filing response briefs to our motions and our memorandum. I would assert that we should be given the opportunity to file reply briefs to their response briefs. And our objection to that date is there's not enough time to get all of that done by February 26th. And the issue should be fully briefed so that both sides have had their opportunity to fully brief it, and the court has an opportunity to review the briefs prior to taking the bench on February 26th.
It's an Odell motion, right?
Well, yes, Odell, yes.
Yeah, so it's an Odell motion. I have your motion and the attachments, police reports. I have that thumb drive with all of the grand jury minutes on it. Mr. Lally, you're going to file an opposition when? Ms. McLaughlin, when is that opposition? When can we have, Mr. Lally's on trial. Can you help us out with that, Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes, Your Honor. I anticipate having one motion filed today in regards to the disqualification sanction motion.
Okay.
Listen to this.
A week or so to get the motion to dismiss done.
Let's do it by next Wednesday. All right. And then you can have something, an opposition to an opposition or a reply to an opposition on an Odell motion. 2 days, Mr. Yannetti. You can have something by next Friday. So the hearing will be on the 26th.
What time, Judge?
Jim, what time is it scheduled? Whatever time it's already scheduled for. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, Jim, we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I mean, okay. In the name of justice and making sure that everything's like, what is going on? They just told you that they don't have any of this stuff back. Like, this is not, hey, both sides, like they're missing stuff. How are you supposed to have an expert or somebody? Then you have to look at everything, determine. Okay, I just. I don't have any words for this. So I went ahead and I pulled out, let's take a look at all the stuff that was filed in terms of from Alan Jackson. Affidavit in support of motion for order pursuant to, they want to, okay, so here, let's take a look at this. I have no words. I mean, March 12th. Okay, yep, we're going to be heard on the 26th. Yep, okay. And that sounds good. All right, we're all done here. Okay. In Alan Jackson's affidavit that he put a ton of exhibits in, I'm going to pull it up on the screen. Okay. So let's see here. This is Exhibit B. And it's the full transcript of Morsetti's statement. And it says, this will be the first statement of its kind in my dozen years as Norfolk District Attorney. The harassment of witnesses in the murder prosecution of Karen Reed is absolutely baseless. It should be an outrage to any decent person, and it needs to stop. False narratives are not evidence. However, what evidence does show is that John O'Keefe never entered the home at 34 Fairview Road in Canton on the night he died. Location data from his phone recovered from the lawn beneath his body when he was transported to the hospital shows that his phone did not enter that home. Now, this is just mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing. Okay. Let me just zoom in here. Okay. Some have, without any evidence, pointed to 18-year-old Colin Albert, a nephew of the homeowner, and accused him of attacking John O'Keefe as he entered the home. But phone evidence shows O'Keefe never entered the home at all. This is completely not true. True. There was no fight inside that home. John O'Keefe did not enter the home. Colin Albert, the young man being vilified, was not present when Reed's vehicle and John O'Keefe arrived on the street. That is a false narrative. Colin Albert did not commit murder. Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Brian Albert, these people were not part of a conspiracy and certainly did not commit murder or any crime that night. Oh my God. They have been forthcoming with authorities, provided statements, and have not engaged in any cover-up. They are not suspects in any crime. They are merely witnesses in the case. To have them accused of murder is outrageous. To have them harassed and intimidated based on false narratives and accusations is wrong. They are witnesses doing what our justice system asks of them. The autopsy of John O'Keefe was conducted by a forensic pathologist from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. The doctor found the injuries that left John helpless in the cold were not the result of a fight. She further found that the line of abrasions on his arm was consistent with blunt trauma, not an animal attack. A grand jury of everyday citizens heard the documented evidence and testimony before making its decision. The subject of that murder indictment enjoys the constitutional presumption of innocence. Why should the witnesses who have committed no crime be afforded less by members of the community? They should not be harassed for telling the government what they heard or saw. I am asking the Canton community and everyone who feels invested in this case to hear all of the actual evidence at trial before assigning guilt to people who have done nothing wrong. And certainly before taking it upon yourselves to harass citizens who, evidence shows, have done nothing in this matter, but have come forward and bear witness. Oh my God. I cannot believe. Okay, this is an Alan Jackson's affidavit. Okay. Where are we? We try people in the court and not on the internet for a reason. The internet has no rules of evidence. The internet has no punishment for perjury. And the internet does not know all the facts.
Don't you know that? No punishment for perjury.
Yep. No punishment. We definitely know the internet has no punishment for perjury. That is a fact that we do know over here at Truth and Transparency. Conspiracy theories are not evidence. I can't. The idea that multiple police departments, EMTs, fire personnel, the medical examiner, and the prosecuting agencies are joined in or taken in by a vast conspiracy should be seen for what it is, completely contrary to the evidence and a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. Michael Proctor, the state police trooper being accused of planting evidence outside 34 Fairview Road, was never at Fairview Road the day of the incident. Oh my God, this is a lie. Is this guy insane? Yes, he was. He interviewed them at the residence. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. Proctor has his state trooper police partner travel together the entire day while other officers were processing 34 Fairview. Trooper Proctor was not there and did not plant evidence at 34 Fairview Road. Oh my God. In addition to having no opportunity to plant evidence, as has been suggested, Trooper Proctor would have no motive to do so. Trooper Proctor had no close personal relationship with any of the parties involved in the investigation, had no conflict, and had no reason to step out of the investigation. This is the district attorney writing this. This is the district attorney. Every suggestion to the contrary is a lie. Oh my God. This should all be seen for what it is and not used as a pretext to attack and harass others. What is happening to the witnesses? Some with no actual involvement in the case is wrong. It is contrary to the American values of fairness and the constitutional value of a fair trial. It needs to stop now. I am releasing this as a recorded statement rather than holding a news conference because my remarks need to be so narrowly tailored to the issue at hand while the prosecution is pending in Superior Court. But the message is the same. What is happening to these innocent people, these witnesses, is wrong and it needs to stop. Source, WCVB5, dated August 25th, 2023. OMG ski. Holy shit balls. Again, this is in Alan Jackson's, that's Exhibit B in Alan Jackson's, he filed an affidavit with, there you go. I, Alan Jackson, under the oath, do depose and state as follows. I have carefully reviewed the discovery produced by the Commonwealth in this case, including all police reports, grand jury minutes, crime scene photographs, and other evidence. Attached here too is Exhibit A, is a true and correct copy of the Trooper Proctor's October 12th, 2022 interview with Nagel. That was, okay. What else did he put in here? He put a true and correct copy of the Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morissetti's August 25th, 2023 statement to the press as reported by WCVB. 5 is attached here too as Exhibit B. Attached here too as Exhibit C are photographs of Trooper Proctor and various prosecution witnesses, which were obtained from verified social media accounts. Attached here too is Exhibit D, is a true and correct copy of Trooper Proctor's February 21st, 2022 interview with Chris and Julie Albert. Okay. Attached here too, Exhibit E, is a true and correct copy of Massachusetts State Police Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully's report in support of an arrest warrant for Aiden Kearney. Oh my God. Attached here too, Exhibit F, is a true and correct copy of the photograph taken by a passerby, which captured Jennifer McCabe's vehicle at Trooper Proctor's personal residence on September 25th, 2023, as referenced in the Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully's report above. Attached here too is Exhibit G, are relevant excerpts from a transcript of the October 3rd, 2022 hearing held in connection with this case. And I want to read that one. So Exhibit G, I'll come back, Exhibit G. So here is those pictures, by the way, too. And he's pointing out that, you know, David Proctor, Michael Proctor's father, Karen Proctor, mother, Colin Albert, you know, that they're all present. This is Michael Proctor, Courtney Proctor, Colin Albert. So you want to talk about has no motive. Okay. That was a wedding video dated April 21st, 2012. They're all together. Zoom in there. Colin Albert, Chris Albert, Julia, they're all sitting at a table behind. Okay. Proctor, and what they are saying that this is not anybody of Jennifer McCabe's kids. Again, Jennifer McCabe's daughter. Then here is Chris Albert's My World. Well, mine is Chris Albert. And in the picture is Colin Albert, Chris Albert, Julie Albert, source Chris Albert's Facebook public photo dated October 12, 2019. The Proctor's second family. Two years later, and the comment is still true. Okay, now let's go to what I said. I'm going to show you guys. Again, this was filed October 11th, 2023. Right. Here we go. I cannot believe this made all this crap. Wait, I don't want to use that one. I want to use Exhibit G. Okay, here's Exhibit G. Okay, so Mr. Lally, you know, obviously, given the short notice, I was able to provide, as the council had requested and Judge Carp had ordered, notice to each of the third parties. I guess we'll call them intangible object holders, the notice reserved, blah, blah, blah. Your Honor, the Commonwealth would request that the defendant's motion be denied. The defendant submits no supporting affidavit as is required. And so that's why Alan Jackson did this. And yes, I did fanciful facts section contained within the memorandum, but it's a fact section that is entirely bear fit of any evidentiary support for the conspiracy that purportedly exists and forms the basis for these requests for the subject's cell phones at issue here. If I could just address a couple of the facts or the evidence as outlined by counsel as far as to justification for this being manifold, the conflict of interest that the Commonwealth has fully vetted and does not believe that there is any conflict of interest here between Trooper Proctor and the Albert family and this investigation. This is what the prosecutor said, okay, in one of their hearings. Any relationship, you know, it's tangible at best, tangent at best. There are not people that associate together. These are not people that associate together. They don't socialize together. These are not people that know each other. These are not people that Trooper Proctor has been over to their home prior to going to their home to interview them in relationship or in relation to this case. The phone call that counsel references from Julie Albert, and this is a part of the issue that I take with some of the submissions that were included in the grand jury transcripts, in which it's essentially parceled out 2 pages here, 3 pages there, 5 pages there, completely divorced from their context. This, Your Honor, was an extensive grand jury investigation spanning several months, over 14 different dates. There were 42 different witnesses who testified before this grand jury. So there were more than that with some repeat witnesses. And this is all, he's just going on and saying that there's no relationship. But this phone call that Julie Albert is alleged to have received from Miss McCabe, indicating at 4:53 that Mr. O'Keefe was dead, it is a phone call that Miss Albert testified she missed. She was asleep. So that was the intention of the phone call. May have been to inform her of something, but it's not a phone call that she received. As far as the 3-point turn is concerned, the only person, and this is a bit troubling as the case has gone on, the only person who has ever said that there was a 3-point turn by Miss Reed in front of the house was Miss Reed to the troopers later on that day. None of the witnesses ever said that they saw a 3-point turn. None of the witnesses ever said that there was any evidence of a 3-point turn. This is not true. Matthew McCabe said it, motherfuckers. That's simply one of the varying accounts of this that Miss Reed provided to independent witnesses and the troopers over the course of this investigation. Again, this is totally not true. Matt McCabe said it in his interview. As far as the video confirming that evidence was tampered with, is essentially, it's apparently a ring video from the defendant's parents' house in Dighton. I've never seen the video. I've never seen anything beyond what's contained within this submission. So this is why Alan Jackson prepared a 79-page affidavit with exhibits. This is just unbelievable. Like, this is all crazy. It does have a time and a date and a timestamp of 4:12 p.m., but from the photograph, as the court can see, the subject's vehicle is not on the wrecker at that point. It's not on the tow truck. I have no idea whether or not that time and date stamp is accurate, because this is all about, I mean, I cannot believe that he just continues to go on and on and on with this busted up narrative. There's simply, throughout the course of this recitation, as far as the taillight is concerned, being damaged in the driveway of Mr. O'Keefe's home, there is a Ring video application from his driveway, which shows Miss Reed backing out of the driveway at 5:08 a.m. We obviously have her cell phone's whereabouts and movements, so it takes about 21 minutes or so before she shows up at Miss McCabe's home, which is probably about a 2-minute drive from there. But from that video, the vehicle backs up with more than sufficient room to cut the wheel and make the maneuver without making any contact with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. This is insanity right here, okay? This is crazy. She clearly hits the car. It fucking moves. The fucker moves. Just can't. This is what he's saying in an oral argument. This is the transcript of him oral arguing to and so they trapped him in a way. It appears that the vehicles come close. So then let's see what else we have here. Here we go. On 1/29/2022, secured pieces of red plastic taillight cover. It's 6/6/6 10 a.m. Secured broken red and clear. So then look at this. They go back. Look at this. Look at these dates. Oh my God, you guys, look at these dates when they're saying they're getting all this. Remember what they haven't come back yet with no reports of? What are they waiting for? This tail light? Well, take a look at the tail light, okay? 1/29, collecting evidence. 1/29, February 3rd, February 4th, February 8th. Trooper Proctor secured one large red piece of plastic, one small piece of plastic, and one piece of black plastic. February 8th, February 10th. I think this is who they call Sergeant Bukaki. Secured 6 pieces of red, black, and clear. February 10th. Secured 14 pieces of glass. February 11th. Trooper Proctor secured a fragment of glass. February 11th. Trooper Proctor secured 3 pieces of clear plastic and 5 pieces of red plastic. February 18th. The fuck are they doing? What do we have here? Oh, this is the that's Lucky who had driven down there. Let's see what else is a good one. This is Colin Alberts. Oh yeah, I mean, oh God. Okay, on the evening of, this is his interview of Colin Albert. This happened on January 29th, 2022. John O'Keefe was discovered unresponsive outside of the home. Okay. On July 18th, 2023, Clark and I conducted the interview of Colin Albert. That's the first time he was ever talked to. July 18, 2023. The interview took place at the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office at 7:30 p.m. Colin visited his cousin Brian Jr. on the evening of January 28th and stayed for about an hour and a half. Colin grew up at blank in Canton and recalls seeing John around the neighborhood from time to time. Colin would drive by John's house to exit the neighborhood to Pleasant Street and would wave and say hi to John whenever Colin would see him. They were friendly with one another. Passing, Collins stated that he never went inside John's home. The extent of their relationship was friendly hello when passing by one another. Collins could not recall ever meeting Karen Reed. On the evening of January 28, 2022, Collins was at a friend's house in Canton hanging out. Collins' cousin Brian Albert was having a few friends over for his birthday, and Collins wanted to stop by and see him. Collins stated that he arrived around 10:30 p.m. and stayed until just after midnight. Collins stated inside the residence while he was there was Brian Jr., Emily, Sarah, Catherine. The group hung out at the house for a while, and at 12:09, Colin was picked up by his friend, Allie McCabe. Colin was able to confirm the 12:09 a.m. time with text messages between him and Allie. As Colin was leaving the residence, he saw his aunt Nicole and Uncle Brian returning home. Colin, Nicole, and Brian had a brief conversation since Colin's ride was waiting for him. Colin said other than Nicole and Brian, he did not see any other adults arriving. Colin stated he went directly home after leaving 34 Fairview Road. Anyways, yeah. So basically, Alan Jackson just like, fuck. This has everything to do with, that Rule 17. That's what that is, that Rule 17. So, this is going to be a I can't believe they're going to court and having the trial starts March 12th. The trial is starting March 12th. They don't even have the evidence in yet. Like, then somebody looking at it, and I mean, it'll be interesting. It's the state's burden, so they're going to be organized to what, like, he's like, well, the only reason I'm joining forces here with Yannetti here to say, like, yeah, we want one extra time is due to get the it was in regards to like the tail light, and then just to make sure that we wanted a protection order, make sure all the language is good with the protection order of the information that the feds are going to release. Okay. They can use that information. Obviously, it's she has to hear these motions out. So maybe there'll be some filings, but I can't imagine this will be complete. I think this is so rushed, but what do I know? Thanks, Janet. They don't even have those Verizon records back yet. I think they have a decent amount. I did a whole big live on, I mean, this is just absolute lies, 100%. I did it myself. I took it with John's phone and the other people's phones, and his phone 100 went upstairs, went downstairs, like his phone went up flights of stairs. So where this district attorney is just mouthing this shit, that's a lie. Because there's no other way you can go up a flight of stairs and do that twice if you didn't go inside that home. There aren't just random stairs in the middle of the driveway of the Alberts residence. Okay, so I guess they can go ahead and they can try to argue that it's, it's factually incorrect because it's faulty information from the data. Then everything would be faulty. Then whatever you're going to use. I believe that they've been lying. I see no way can Karen Reed be found guilty. But at the end of the day, is whatever happened to like justice for O'Keefe, like everybody's forgot about that. Nobody's talking about somebody literally kicked the shit out of him or had him attacked by. I mean, this man didn't just die in the cold because he was drunk, passed out, and died. That's not what happened. yeah, we need to see discovery, no trial, no records. Well, it should be all coming out here in the trial. I mean, you're going to be able to see it, but I just, nobody's talking about, like, John O'Keefe just didn't pass out and die. And their answer is that Karen Reed's vehicle did this. Well, that's funny to me that the one piece of evidence that Jen Coffeneffer doesn't want to talk about is they're waiting on DNA results from the taillight part. Like, what? You must have to be, I mean, that's not a good sign for the prosecution. Let's just put it that way. More than likely, there's nothing going to be on that. You know what? What's her name said? Jen Coffeneffer said that there was no dog, canine DNA. Well, they also didn't, swab his wounds. They swabbed his clothing, his clothing allegedly. But I'm interested to see. I mean, hey, they want to go forward with this trial. If they really truly think that I just can't believe that the judge over here, I don't know. I feel like more time would help her, the state, but they're the one with the burden. Unfortunately, what I see happening is I see Karen Reed is acquitted of murder charges. If this doesn't get dismissed, she's acquitted, and then nothing's going to go forward with what happened to and who was responsible for O'Keefe. Basically murder, homicide. That's what I see happening. But interested to see. Like I said, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Karen Reed's innocent until proven guilty. They're clearly going with a third-party culpability defense, and rightfully so. And it seems like they're pointing the finger at Colin Albert, and that it was a cover-up for Colin Albert. So, again, I want to thank everybody for joining in. The next time there's a hearing is February 26th. That's when the motion to dismiss is heard. That's going to be a big hearing, is February 26th. They're going to be heard on that argument. Again, February 26th is that hearing. Woo! And we'll keep you updated on that. We will be covering the Karen Reed case. And those of you guys that are following along with the Harvey Montgomery case, I will be doing a roundup what has transpired over the past 2 weeks in that case. There is no court nor no trial on Monday, so I'll be doing it then. Lots to say in that case. So tell us more about this anonymous call that blames Colin, this anonymous caller. Well, I'm going to wait till February 26th. I think it's going to be a really good hearing. Alan Jackson will be in town, and I think he's going to oral argue the shit out of this being dismissed. Do I think it'll get dismissed? I think it should. But the way that old Bev's been operating, I think Bev either blasts herself with Xanax and is on her period 24/7, or she has, I think she was a past 1-800 operator employee. Her voice is like she's talking to seduce somebody 24/7. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing some facts. Like, I want to hear things outside. I want to hear the lawyers. I want to see the evidence. I appreciate the work that has been done to uncover this huge cover-up, but it needs to be in the hands of the attorneys, and it needs to be presented by the attorneys based on the research that has been done, and then letting these attorneys lawyer it up and do their job. So Aunt Bev. Oh, her birthday is February 26th when court is? Whose birthday? Aunt Bev? Well, I hope. Maybe she'll get more pep in her step. So hopefully something for Aunt Bev. I don't know. I have lots to say in the bombshells that have just, you guys have been hearing what's going on in the Harmony Montgomery case. Did you guys hear about this anonymous caller? Is that who you guys want to hear about? Are you guys talking about that case? Because that's the case I'm going to talk about, this anonymous caller. They watched the trial in the Harmony Montgomery case. They were watching the trial, and then because of what was being talked about and being shown, somebody calls into the police department and says, oh my God, I have all this information. They go to her or his house. I don't know if it's a female. I don't know if it's a male. They go to their house. They interview her or him, bring them in, get all this stuff recorded, and then turn it over to the prosecutor's office. Just happened yesterday or the day before. And holy shit. I want to know what this person knows. So, or what they think that they, have. So, Brianna, what are your thoughts on the DOJ investigation? Oh, with the feds, with this case? I think there's a lot of fucked people in this case. If the feds were truly investigating, I think that it's going to be apparent that I think people are going to get in trouble. $40,000 reward. Yeah, so I printed off some of that stuff. So that's, I'll start a new thread though, so that can be followed by the people that are following the Harmony Montgomery case. Yes, in this case, 100%. I do think that the investigation yielded results, and otherwise you wouldn't be asking for a protective order. I think protective order, I don't think the feds would be getting involved if this was a nothing burger. Everybody's lying. Everybody is lying, like fucking lying. So I don't know. If you have, if you were sleeping and you have nothing to hide, go through your attorney, explain some things, help with the investigation. As far as this case went, that's not what happened. What happened was they thought they could blame Karen Reed. I think more facts are going to come out that we don't even know about. As much as that we've heard, I think there's some stuff that's being kept under wraps. Lying under oath into the feds, yeah. I want to start seeing people get in trouble. I want to start seeing law enforcement get in trouble for perjury. I want to start seeing that. I think that's a big deal. You going and lying to get anybody in trouble, like, I'm sorry, but fuck you. Like I said, I thought that if you're going to cover anything up in this case, let John O'Keefe not have anybody, found and taken in as a suspect in the case. If you wanted to cover up something, but going and blaming Karen Reed was the biggest mistake that they ever made. Leave it as an unsolved, but they clearly felt that wouldn't work. So then they, went and charged her. Karen Reed case, I read a tipster called in and said Brian Albert beat him. Well, I don't know. That would be news to me. I mean, they'd have to have something to back that shit up. They were like, how do you know that? Oh, I was there. You know what I mean? So unless one of these people, one of these, witnesses wants to come forward and when they talk to the feds, maybe they said, okay, yeah, I was told to say this and this isn't what happened. Do I see that happening? Yeah, 100%. 100% what I see happening with that investigation is that these younger kids were told to lie by that's what I see happening. Their times are off. Like, I think somebody would have seen, without a doubt, O'Keefe in that house. That's all. Once you say that O'Keefe entered that house, Karen Reed is no longer possibly on the hook. Does that make sense? So all it takes is one person in that house to say that they saw O'Keefe and that he was in that house. Then Karen Reed couldn't have backed up and hit that motherfucker. Period. It's that simple. His digital evidence on his phone shows that he went up a flight of stairs on two different occasions while inside that home. Like I said, you're not going up a flight of stairs in the middle of a driveway. Florida Baby says, the tipster says, in quotes, your client is innocent. John was beaten up by Brian Albert and his nephew. They broke his nose, and when O'Keefe didn't come to, Brian and a federal agent dumped his body. A federal agent dumped his body on the front lawn? Interesting. Well, again, that person's going to have to say that they were there. And if that's the case, look out. I'd love to know who the federal agent was. Also, I want to talk about his busting somebody's nose and not coming to. That does not have anything to do with what went on with his right arm. So, oh, federal agent was Brian Higgins. I don't think, is he a federal agent or is he a state police officer? Well, I personally hope that that's true, that somebody wants to come forward that actually witnessed it. And it's somebody that knows, that everybody knows that was there. Your metadata will show that you're there. Okay. Why don't they do this? Why didn't they ever do a cell tower search and see who communicated off that cell tower like they've done for all these other cases? So yeah, I think the dog seen the fight and was defending. I'm telling you what makes sense to me is that backyard had a fence around it. And if you come home and you let the dog out and they're in the backyard, depending on what type of dog you have, but if he was going in and was supposed to like come out and then bring Karen in to make sure it was okay, but if they were both invited, then I don't know why they both just didn't get out. But it seemed like there was a chance that he could have walked out the back slider. If they were in the backyard for some reason and the dog got let out back there. So I think everything's in his phone records with his steps. And then his phone's being literally ran all over in the morning. And he's clearly down on the ground. I think it's also interesting who ends up turning on in John O'Keefe's phone. I think that at first they were going to act like his phone was missing, and then they realized that they couldn't do that based on what they were now going to go forward with. I knew that he went to his office allegedly in the morning. I did know that. Yes. And I actually put that out on my spreadsheet. I showed how their phones were moving. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll repin that episode I did where I did all of their phones and put them on a fucking clear as day spreadsheet. And actually, I'm not going to lie, I gave all my spreadsheets to Alan Jackson. So I gave him all my information. I worked hard on that, and I want justice for John O'Keefe, and I don't believe it's through Karen Reed being guilty. I think there's other people that are responsible. And I took all the facts, and it took me a long time to build that timeline. Then I turned it over to Alan Jackson's office. So, no one has heard from him. Yeah, no one has. I really, truly, I want, for personal reasons, I want the trial to start March 12th. But that's me having personal reasons just because I want to see this shit, right? But I would just, in an unbiased approach, I don't think that either side are ready. I think that they made that clear. And I think that this would be better served as a spring. I think that they just probably need just like 2 more months. But I mean, obviously for personal reasons, like, yeah, like I want to see this shit. Like, I'm curious, right? I don't think the state has a fucking prayer if this goes March 12th. I literally don't see how. I mean, do you see this bumbling fool up here? He can't even form sentences. Like Alan Jackson and the evidence, he's going to wax him. Like, I almost see fucking Karen Reed taking the stand. I don't even think she needs to, though. But I don't know. Do you guys think that Turtle Boy is going to be taking the stand in the case? I do. I think he's a witness, right? Who else, you guys? I mean, who's the state calling for their case, right? They're going to call these. I already broke down in the timeline. All these officers have different accounts. You can see it in the timeline. It's bad. So they're going to rip it off with having the state's going to, put on with you're going to have Jen McCabe take the stand. And the other broad she was with, wow. You're going to have your phone experts to show where the fuck they're going and what they're doing, what they're writing. You Googled this. Why did you Google that? Why were you Googling that at, that time? I think when a jury sees this, it's like Karen Reed's innocence, or I should say this, Karen Reed will be acquitted because of the evidence. That's just, oh, thank you there, Tanya. Thank you. Appreciate that. I can't even look at this case and find an instance where I'm like, this is not good for Karen Reed. Except I'll take that back. I think Turtle Boy needed to calm down. He goes a little overboard. But that's, hey, you know what you're getting in bed with when you get in bed with it. And if you don't, shame on you for not knowing, I guess. That's my thought. The state police use the leaf blower. Can you believe that? I know. It's like I can sit here and we can just be like, what the fuck's going on? But then I talk to people that are, officers, and they're just like, I don't know procedure, and I don't know this, and I don't know that. I'm like, well, I know this is fact. It's written in a police report. I know this, and I know that these are in, these are in police reports. These aren't in defense, motions. These are motherfucking what they wrote. They're collecting evidence in Solar Red cups. The judge and bitch Bev, she's allowing, they're getting their hands on those Verizon records. I mean, I'm telling you, those Verizon records are going to be so fucking damning, and not for Karen Reed. The only thing Karen Reed did on that night was drink and drive, okay? She fucking drank and she drove. That's what she's guilty of. but y'all didn't catch her doing it. So, also professionally done. Did Brian say why he didn't go out of the house when they found him? No, red solo cups to collect blood. Yes, that's just I get it. I get it that it was snowing and they were trying. I don't know. You guys, who goes back to collect tail light? Look at this. I mean, this. They're gonna be questioned about this. So this is their what they're saying is that, hey, it was because so on February 3rd, Sergeant Bukaki, Trooper DeSico, and myself arrived at 34 Fairview Road. Trooper Brandt from Crime Scene Services responded to document any findings with photographs. So they were sifting through the melted snow to locate any remaining pieces of evidence. During the February 3rd search, detectives located multiple pieces of broken taillight, broken glass, a stirring straw, and John O'Keefe's baseball hat. An increase in temperatures ranging from 34 degrees to 63 degrees Fahrenheit, see attached weather.gov report, and several days of rain. Melted away snow revealing evidence over the course of 2 weeks. I don't see how you could possibly say that this would have to be happening over the course of 2 weeks. Okay, right when it got to be 63 degrees on whatever day, okay, February 3rd. So you should have been able to get everything on February 3rd. How could you not get everything then on February 3rd? Look at this, the 4th, the 8th, the 10th, the 11th, the 18th. Was that whole house was listed off as a crime scene? Like that was all taped off? No, it wasn't. And for me, just think about if you're on the jury, that this is all I would say here is, well, you just wrote it right here that by February 3rd, it's 63 degrees. So there you go. You should have, did they have a suppression hearing in this case? All of this should be suppressed. Because that would be too easy. But I think that everything should have been able to be gotten on February 3rd. And I'm just saying, like, if I was on the jury and I'm deliberating with these fucks, I'm like, you guys, you can sit here all day and yeah, let's talk about it. But there's nothing that is okay with this. February 18th, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then you got to pay attention when they're going to be showing all these pieces to say, okay, what day did you get that piece that yielded some results? What day did you get this? What day did you get that? But that should have all been able to be done on February 3rd. And anything after that, in my opinion, is bullshit. Because that's common sense. And I'm allowed as a juror to have common sense. This other shit, you're going to have a really good reason as to why the fuck you went back out there on the 4th, 8th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 18th. It's crazy. And I'm sorry, but like, I think it's prejudicial for Karen Reed. 100%, this was prejudicial. So let's go back to, how is this statement not prejudicial? How is this statement by the DA and all the shit he said, how is that not beyond? And there's no gag order. Okay, so this fucker can say whatever he wants. just because you have the right to say whatever you want, right? Okay, you do. But these statements, in my opinion, only make it look like you're part of the fucking problem. And I hope the feds nail your fat fucking ass. That's how I feel about that. Because that's ridiculous. He has nothing to be writing about here. They did more in arresting Turtle Boy than I feel like they've done in the Karen Reed case. Okay. And why are you even wasting your time with that? Like, I just feel like everybody in that area has Fifi problems. My feelings got hurt. Big feelings. Fucking grow up here. You're in Boston, man. Didn't you grow up being like, I don't know. But I think people got this DA clearly. It should be an outrage to any decent person that needs to stop. No, I'd be fucking disgusted if I lived there and that's who's representing my county. Ridiculous. Laughing my Fifi problems. That's what I call it. You're all in your feels, man. Just bad. Like fucking bad. Like don't listen to the YouTube channel then. I mean just wild stuff. But I've said it on my channel too. Do I think he's gone too far, Turtle Boy? Absolutely. Okay, but they're fucking egging him back. You know, shut the fuck up then. They run their mouth. Like I said, it's just like fucking high school shit over there during a murder trial. You like that? Well, I'm just sick and tired of everybody's Fifi is getting in the way, all right? All right, well, I do like it. I'm stealing it. You can steal it. Kent is very different from actual Boston. I see that now, unit. G-Unit. Huh, well, like I said, I'll be covering the case over here. Fair and impartial all the way. Now, I want to know if they have Turtle Boy on the list as a witness. I wonder if he's allowed to be in the courtroom, or is he going to be streaming it? So, all right, guys. Until next time. I'm going to look into the whole this alleged caller. We'll see what we can find. In the meantime, guys, stay strong. Be kind. No fifis. Bye, guys. Have a good night.